There is a roll of paper sitting on your kitchen counter right now, and I want you to look at it before you do anything else today. Look at how much is left. Yesterday there was more, tomorrow there will be less, and when it runs out, you will tear open a plastic package and set up another one, and you will do that again next week, and the week after, for the rest of your life. If you buy 2 rolls a week, and most households buy more, you will spend several $100s this year wiping up spills with money and then carrying that money out to the trash. I have kept a kitchen for more than 40 years. I have raised 7 children in it, canned in it, butchered in it, nursed sick babies through long winters in it, and in all those years there has never once been a roll of paper towels in my house. We could have afforded them. We simply never needed them, and once you see how the old cloth way works, you will wonder why anyone does. My name is Anna Beiler. My mother kept house this way, and her mother before her, back further than anyone alive can remember, and today I am going to hand the whole system to you the way it was handed to me, standing at the wash line with cold fingers, listening. If this is the kind of plain, useful help you came looking for, go ahead and subscribe, and tell me down in the comments what state you are watching from. Now, before I show you a single rag, I have to fix something in your head, because this is where everybody goes wrong. When an English friend of mine tried to quit paper towels, she went to the store and bought a package of pretty printed cloths, brought them home, and set them on the counter where the paper roll used to sit. Inside of a month, she was back on paper, and she told me cloth simply does not work for a busy family. She was wrong, but I understood why she failed. She had bought a product when what she needed was a system. One stack of nice cloths cannot replace paper towels, because you will not want to ruin a nice cloth on bacon grease. So you will hesitate, and the grease will sit, and you will go buy paper again. The hesitation is the whole failure. My kitchen never hesitates, because in my kitchen every mess already has its cloth waiting, and every cloth already knows its job. A spilled glass of milk, a greasy pan, a muddy boot print, a child's sticky face, chicken blood on the cutting board. Each one of those has a different rag, kept in a different place, and my hands go to the right one without my mind having to decide anything. That is what I am going to build with you today. Not a stack of cloths. A house where cloth flows through every job the way water flows downhill. My grandmother had a saying about this, and as a girl I thought it was just something old women said. She would take a worn bed sheet, hold it up to the window light to show the thin places, and say, "Cloth is born twice. The first life is the one you bought it for. The second life is the one you give it." In her house, and in my mother's, and in mine, no piece of cotton ever went from new to trash. It stepped down a ladder, one rung at a time, and every rung was years long. A good sheet served the beds for 10 or 15 years. When it wore thin in the middle, it was cut apart, and the strong outer parts became kitchen toweling. Hemmed on a winter evening when the lamplight was good, when the kitchen towels grew stained and rough, they were cut smaller and moved to the cleaning basket, for windows and floors and wiping down the milk pails. When even that work had used them up, they went to the barn box for greasing hinges and wiping harness, and when a rag had truly given everything, it lit the stove or went into the garden path mud. One sheet, 30 years of work, and my grandmother paid for it once. I can still see her doing the cutting. It was always in late winter, when the outside work was light, and she would spread the worn sheet across the kitchen table under the lamp and run her flat hand over it slowly, feeling for the thin ground the way a farmer reads a field. Then she would tear it, and this surprised me as a child. She tore more than she cut, because a straight tear follows the thread and a scissor line wanders. Rip, fold, rip, and inside 20 minutes a dead sheet had become 24 useful pieces, sorted by strength into 3 piles on the table. The strong pieces from the sides went into her mending basket for hemming. The middling pieces went to the rag bin as they were. The truly weak ones, the ones you could nearly read a newspaper through, she rolled into a bundle and set by the stove for the filthy jobs and the fire. Nothing about it felt like poverty. It felt like an accounting, like watching someone who knew the full worth of a thing collect the last of what it owed her. That is the ladder. Every piece of cloth in your house is standing on it right now, whether you know it or not. The paper towel company would very much like you to never find out. If this is doing you some good so far, subscribe and turn on notifications so the next one finds you when it is ready. So let me take you through my kitchen and show you the stations, because that word is the right one. Stations. The first station is the everyday hand towel, and it hangs on a hook by the sink. One hook, always the same hook. This towel is for clean hands and clean dishes only, nothing else, and everyone in the house knows it. It gets changed every morning, fresh one on the hook, yesterday's into the wash pile, no thinking required. The second station is the countercloth, and this is the one that does the work paper towels pretend to do. Mine live folded in a shallow drawer right beside the stove, a dozen of them, and the best material on this earth for the job is the flour sack towel. You can still buy them plain and cheap, a dozen for less than the cost of a month of paper, and they are thin, tightly woven cotton, which matters more than you would guess. Thick, fluffy towels push a spill around. Thin flour sack cotton drinks it. One of those towels wipes the whole counter after supper, and a fresh one comes out in the morning. The third station is the rough rag bin, and mine is an old enamel basin under the sink. These are the demoted cloths, the ones on the lower rungs of the ladder, cut into squares about the size of your two hands spread out. Muddy floor, splattered stovetop, something dropped and broken, the boot room, the porch rail. You grab from the bin and you do not think twice about ruining anything, because these rags have already lived their good years. That freedom, that not thinking twice, is the exact feeling the paper towel sells you, and the rag bin gives it to you for nothing. The fourth station is the barn and shop rags, kept out of the kitchen entirely in a wooden box by the back door for oil and machine grease and paint, things that should never come near food cloth. And the fifth station is the wet pail, which I will come back to, because it is the piece that makes the whole system run without smelling like a swamp. While I am walking you through the house, I should say a word about the table, because the paper towel has a cousin, and it is the paper napkin, and the two of them usually leave a house together. We use cloth napkins at every meal. And before you picture something fussy, understand that a napkin in a working household is a plain square of cotton, one per person, and it serves for several days of ordinary meals before it goes to the wash. Each person in my family has a napkin ring, and the rings are how you tell whose is whose between washings. Some of ours are wooden, one is an old spool, one the smallest boy made from a bent horseshoe nail, and after supper each napkin gets rolled back into its ring and set in the basket on the sideboard. That one small habit means a family of 9 adds 6 or 7 napkins to the wash each week, instead of throwing away 20 paper ones every single day. The same thinking covers the pocket handkerchief, which every one of us carries, and which handles the noses and the small spills of the day out in the world, where the English reach for paper. A hemmed square of soft old flannel in the pocket has ended more of my daily messes than any product ever sold to me. Now, where do all these rags come from, since I have already told you not to go buy a pretty package of them? They come from your own house, and your house is full of them. Every worn-out cotton shirt, every bedsheet gone thin, every towel with a frayed edge, every pillowcase, every pair of flannel pajamas the children have outgrown. That is your supply, arriving free, forever. But you must learn to read the cloth, because only some of it is worth keeping. Rub it between your fingers. 100% cotton, and linen if you are lucky enough to have any. Those drink water, and those are keepers. The stretchy shirts, the slippery ones, the fleece, anything with plastic thread woven in, those smear water around instead of taking it up, and they are useless at the sink. Give those away or use them for stuffing. When you cut, use good scissors and cut with the weave, squares or rectangles, and do not fret about perfect edges. Knit shirt fabric rolls at the edge but does not fray, so cut it and be done. Woven sheet fabric frays, so if it bothers you, hem it on a quiet evening, or cut with pinking shears, or simply let it fray a little and shake the threads out at the wash. My mother hemmed everything, and her rag bin was tidier than most people's linen closets. I hem the kitchen ones and let the barn ones go ragged, and the work gets done either way. The wet pail is the part nobody teaches anymore, and without it, people give up, so listen close. A used wet rag is the whole problem with cloth. You wipe up spilled milk, and now you are holding a sour thing, and if you drop it in a laundry basket, it will stink and mildew and ruin the clothes around it, and if you leave it wadded on the sink edge, it will smell by morning. The old answer is a small, lidded pail. Mine sits under the sink beside the rag bin, with a few inches of water and a good glug of white vinegar in it. Every used wet rag gets rinsed quick under the tap, wrung out, and dropped in the pail. The vinegar water keeps it from souring. Dry rags, the ones that only dusted a shelf or dried clean hands, go straight into a hanging cloth bag on the back of the cellar door. No pail needed. Wash day comes twice a week in my house, and the pail gets dumped, rags and vinegar water and all, into the machine or the wash boiler, and that is the entire chore. 2 minutes of dumping. People imagine that quitting paper towels means hours of extra laundry, and I promise you it does not. Rags are small. 2 weeks of my kitchen rags make one small load, washed hot with plain soap and a cup of vinegar in the rinse. And then, and this part matters, dried outside on the line whenever the weather allows. Sunlight is the finest bleach and the finest disinfectant ever made. It costs nothing, and it takes stains out of cotton that no bottle from the store can touch. A rag that has been washed hot and dried in full sun is cleaner than the inside of a new paper towel roll that sat in a warehouse, and I will stand on that. In winter, when the line is no use, the rags dry on a wooden rack that stands behind the stove, and this is older wisdom than it looks, because the heat finishes them quickly, and the damp cloth gives a little moisture back to the dry winter air of the house, so the rack does 2 jobs at once. And for the times a rag has touched something I want to be very sure about, sick room cloths, meat day cloths, the cloths from a season of colds, I do what my mother did and give them the pot. A big kettle on the stove, water at a rolling boil, the rags pushed under with a wooden spoon and kept there while you say a couple of slow prayers, then lifted, rinsed, and hung. Boiling is the oldest disinfectant in the world, and it has never once been improved on for cotton. No bleach bottle under my sink, no chemical smell in my kitchen, just heat, soap, vinegar, and sun. The same 4 things that kept generations of farm families healthy through harder times than ours. I know what some of you are thinking about right now, because it is the same thing everyone asks me at market. What about the truly foul messes? What about raw chicken? What about the dog being sick on the floor? What about a pan of bacon grease? And this is fair, because this is the fear that keeps the paper roll on the counter. So here is exactly what we do. For raw meat juice on a counter or board, I use a bottom-rung rag, 1 wash and scald away from the burn pile anyway, wipe the mess, then scrub the surface with hot soapy water, and that rag either goes straight into a pot of water to be boiled, or, if it was on its last legs, it goes into the stove, and its whole long life of service ends in one honest flame. For grease, you never wipe grease with anything you love, cloth or paper. You pour the cooled grease into an old can, and that can lives by my stove and eventually feeds the fire starter jar, and only the thin film left in the pan gets wiped, with a rag from the bottom of the bin. For the sick dog and the diaper failures, and the things I will not describe with the children possibly listening, the answer is the same. The worst messes in the house belong to the oldest rags, and the oldest rags are allowed to die. A rag costs nothing, remember. It already gave you 15 years as a sheet. Burning it after it cleans up something foul is a fine funeral, and this is the secret that makes the whole system feel easy instead of precious. Cloth people fail when they treat every cloth as too good to lose. My grandmother treated cloth the way she treated firewood, valuable, cared for, and absolutely meant to be used up. There are a few more small things that make the difference between a system that holds and one that falls apart by spring. Keep more rags than you think you need. Scarcity is what sends a tired woman back to the store, so the rag bin should never be near empty, and since your supply is free, there is no reason it ever should be. Put the stations where the mess happens, counter cloths at the stove, rough rags under the sink, a few in the boot room, a few in the wash house, because a rag 2 rooms away might as well be at the neighbor's. Teach the children the stations early, which towel is for hands, which bin is for messes, where the wet ones go, because a system only one woman understands dies with her energy at the end of a long day. And keep one small basket of what my mother called company cloths, the newest, nicest toweling, for guests to dry their hands on, so you never once feel that your house is shabbier for being paper-free. It is richer. Every cloth in my kitchen has already earned back its price 10 times over, and the paper company has not seen a coin from this house in my lifetime. Now I want to sit with the question I asked at the start, the one that roll on your counter should be making you ask. Your great-grandmother ran a household without paper towels. Hers was likely bigger than yours, muddier than yours, with more children, more animals, and no machine to wash for her, and she managed it so well that she would be puzzled to watch us wipe a counter with money. So what happened between her kitchen and yours? Paper towels were invented about 100 years ago, and for a long time even English households thought buying them was foolish, a thing for train stations and filling stations, and a wasteful woman. It took decades of advertising to teach people that cloth was dirty and old-fashioned, and that clean meant disposable. And I will tell you plainly why the rag knowledge disappeared. There is no money in it. Nobody profits when you cut up a worn sheet on a winter evening. No company grows by teaching your daughter the wet pail and the vinegar rinse. A skill that makes no one rich has no one paid to remind you of it. And a thing that is nobody's job to remember gets forgotten in about 2 generations. That is exactly how long it took. Your grandmother knew this system. Your mother saw pieces of it. You saw a commercial. I am not angry at anyone over it. I just refuse to let the chain break at my link. And if you are still listening, I suspect you feel the same about yours. So let me leave you with the first 3 steps, small enough to start tonight. Tonight, go through one drawer or one shelf and pull out every worn cotton thing you have been keeping out of guilt. And cut yourself your first 2 dozen rags. Tomorrow, set up the 2 stations that matter most, the countercloth drawer near the stove and the rag bin with the vinegar pail under the sink. And then, this is the important one, take the paper towel roll off the counter. Do not throw it away. I am not wasteful, and neither are you. Just put it high in a cupboard for the day the dog is sick. Out of sight, out of hand, because your hand reaches for whatever is closest. And from tonight on, the closest thing will be cloth. Then come tell me how it went. Tell me in the comments what your mother or your grandmother used before paper came, what she called her rag bag, what rules she had about which cloth touched what, because those small family rules are exactly the knowledge that is dying, and someone reading your comment needs it, and I gather these up and learn from them myself. Next time, I am going to take you into my wash house and show you how we get whites truly white, with nothing but sunlight, bluing, and a method my grandmother used on church clothes for 60 years. So bring your stained linens, so to speak, and we will see to them together. The women who kept house before us were not making do until something better came along. They had already worked out something better, tested across whole lifetimes, and it asked nothing of them but attention and a pair of scissors. A house where nothing is wasted is a calm house, and a woman who knows the second life of everything she owns is never poor. Thank you for sitting with me through this. Subscribe if you want more old household wisdom, and the next video is right there on your screen when you are ready for it.